my channel. Today's video is going to be my October TBR pile. I have a couple books on it, a couple I have started and would just like to either finish or make my way through more. Other ones I haven't started at all. The first one that, as you can see, I have started reading. I am only about this far in. I have read this one before. This is a reread, but now I'm reading through and annotating it, and it is Take Off Your Pants, Outline Your Book for Faster, Better Writing. I am a self-published author, and I do outline most of my work. She has kind of a more unique take on outlining than I've seen in a lot of other places. So, it is a very good book. It's a very good read if you are a writer who either wants to learn more about outlining or get better at outlining or just see a different outlining process. So I do highly recommend this one. The next one on my TBR list is also a writing related book. It is called The Writer's Complete Fantasy Reference. And I don't have the dust jacket on it right now, it's somewhere. But what it is it takes historical things. So like right now I'm reading about knighthoods and the different style of knighthoods and the different groups of knights in the real world, and then they flip that and kind of explain or use them as examples as to how the different fantasy writers bring it into their world, and kind of the similarities and the differences between the fantasy world and the real world that obviously most people do take inspiration from. This is actually a very interesting book. As you can see, I'm not super far into it. I'm only on like page 18 because it is set up as a legitimate like reference guide, so it's a little bit denser, it's a little bit more a slower read, where this one, as much as it's kind of a reference guide for outlining, it's a quicker read, it's faster paced. Where this one, not quite a textbook, but kind of close to that, where it takes a little bit to get through. I'm also, again, going through and like making notes in it and stuff. Obviously, I don't have any tabs on the side, but that's also why it's taking me a little bit longer. The last 3 books on my TBR are genuine fiction books. One of them is a novella collection, the Asylum novellas. For those of you who don't know, this is a prequel novella series to the Asylum series. And it is about a old insane asylum that got turned into a college dorm, and a couple, like the original series, a couple college kids decide to kind of find out more history about this insane asylum and the dorm and where they're living, because things are happening. People are found dead. The main character is finding all these weird letters. So they want to figure out what happened. So these are like the prequels to that series. This book I have read. I am just under halfway, and it is The Guest List. And it is about a wedding is taking place on an island in Ireland, I believe. And it switches perspectives between the bride, the +1, the groomsmen, the wedding planner, and the bridesmaid. It happens during the wedding, and they have to figure out who killed the person and what happened. So far, it's a pretty good read. It's fairly quick. My only real complaint is that the way it jumps perspectives, it's every chapter, but it just seems like a lot of perspectives within the book. And so far, even, like I said, I'm not quite halfway, but I'm almost, even at the halfway point. It gives a lot of spooky, creepy vibes, and you're waiting for something to happen, but nothing much has happened yet. But the way it's wrote, it does keep you wanting to read, because it's giving you just enough of that creepy feeling that you know something's going to happen. My issue with books that do this is it always becomes a question of, is the payoff going to be good? I'm hoping it is, because I am really enjoying it, and I know a lot of people speak very highly of the author. So we'll see how that... The last book on my TBR list for October is a John Saul. John Saul is probably one of my favorite horror authors because he does more of the psychological horror and more of the hauntings. I try to read at least one of his books every October. My favorite book by him is called Black Creek Crossing, and I try to read that one at least once a year. I haven't read it in about a year or so, so I might end up actually digging it out of the box that it's still in and giving that a read as well this year. Now, I don't only just read him in October, I read horror and like thrillers all year long. They are some of my favorite books to read, but in October I try to make a point to read a John Saul book. So the one I picked this year, so like I was saying, John Saul, my favorite author. I love reading his books all year round, but I at least try to make it kind of a habit to read at least one of his books in October. And that one I've picked is The Right Hand of Evil. It's basically your haunted house. They move into their ancestral home in Louisiana. They find out when things starts happening that the family's bloodline is poisoned by suicide, disappearances, voodoo rituals, and rumors of murder. So they kind of set out to deal with it, kind of fix it so they can stay in the house because they can't really go anywhere else. I don't want to give too much away right now. It's been a while since I've read this one, so I can't quite remember everything. I will go into more depth at the end of October when I do my wrap-up video. I'm hoping, like I said, not to necessarily finish all 5 of these books, but I would like to, finish a couple, get through a good portion of the others. That is my October TBR. Mostly, other than the 2 like writing reference books, they're all thrillers or spookier books, perfect for this time of year. But we will do a wrap up at the end of the month and see where I am then.